My buddy Chad called me the other day and he said, I want to buy a 3-row. I'm planning to have a family in about 20 years and I need the extra capacity. And I said, watch Jack's video on Savage Geese's YouTube channel. And he said, I don't know what that is. I'm like, don't worry about it. Let me just tell you. Jack did a comprehensive video during the launch. And I don't agree with this man about the 3-row concept, or at least part of it. When you're looking at the Grand Highlander, Toyota took one philosophy here. It was to take a minivan, turn it into a big SUV, stretch out their platform as much as possible and make it look like a truck. And that's exactly what they did. It looks like a truck without being body on frame. And then on the inside, they give you more space. It's already beeping. I'm just sitting here. They give you more space, more cargo capacity. The only thing that's comparable in space is the Buick Enclave and, of course, the Chevy Traverse, which I spent time in the Enclave last week. And the first thing after about 30 minutes that I thought was, when the priest comes to visit me in the nursing home on my last days, I'm going to beg for my hours back that I spent in that thing. It felt like an absolute piece of shit. From the fake wood, the Walmart wood, it just, they had like $2 to spend on the interior design. And when you get inside of this, it's clear that while it doesn't feel the most expensive, and it doesn't need to, they put effort into it. Physical controls, Toyota, the people in the North American interior design team, they knew that people don't want to fuck around with this. You have a family, you need to go places. I don't want to be tip-tapping on a screen to adjust HVAC. You got some screaming geriatrics in the back that, you know, are complaining how it was too high to get into and they needed a stool, or your kids in the back are literally, you know, throwing shit at you while you're driving, or screaming or talking over your serious conversation, how you want to get a divorce, and they're crying. Everything's physical. That's my point, and I'm going to leave it at that. We had a debate about the CX90. The CX90 is an amazing vehicle aesthetically. It's a beautiful interior, perfect design. It's for somebody that doesn't want this commodity look and feel. But then Mazda missed the boat at understanding the 3-row customer. The 3-row customer, if you put 5 people in here, what happens first? Well, somebody's got a water bottle, somebody's got a bag of food, some snacks, some toys, or adult diapers, and this thing fills up so quickly that you need storage space, and that's what Toyota did great here. The dashboard isn't wasted. You have nooks and crannies for phones, for bottles. The door holds bottles. The center console area, just take a look at this thing. I mean, it is ridiculous. It's like the size of a garbage can in my office. I could throw so much shit in here. Same thing with the armrest. The transmission tunnel, or the differential tunnel, hasn't impeded the actual storage space under your arm. And in the back is the same way. There's USB not micro USB ports. That's like so 5 years ago. There's USB-C in every corner of this car because, God forbid, somebody's mobile device has a battery depletion in the 15 minutes you're in this thing. It's got you covered, and I think that's the point, is they've thought about all the practical purposes that people want in a SUV hauler. Aside from the fact that it's not a minivan. And Jack's gonna say this, just buy a minivan, and I'd agree. If you have 3 kids or even 2 kids, a minivan's easier. It's easier for older people. You step in versus climbing it. The other argument is, well, you know, you could get a body on frame version, it's even bigger. Well, then you really do need a ladder to get into it, and then you sacrifice ride quality, which this does not so much. End of the day, this is an amazing attempt at making a family hauler that's not a minivan. We're going to take this for a drive, and Jack and I are going to really duke this out in terms of what we think and how it drives.
I know that I messed up. Wish I could take it back, but it doesn't matter when you look at me like that.
You were born for this, Jack.
You're really maxing out this hybrid max, Mark? I have spent more time in these cars than you have. I've driven the regular hybrid, the Turbo 4, and this Hybrid Max. And this is not Hawaii anymore, where I got to spend time with everyone associated with this vehicle. And out there, on those roads, in those conditions, on like twisty, beautiful mountain roads in Hawaii, this was a horrible vehicle to drive.
Why?
Because unlike the CX90, which you alluded to, this has taken a different approach. You don't have adaptive dampers. You've taken a platform, TNGA-K in this car's case, I believe, and you've stretched it to a point where it's one of the largest unibody 3-row SUVs on the planet. And because of that, they had to make some sacrifices at this price point. So it's very soft, and in the vertical up and down bumps, it does a good job. The problem is though, so it's a little too soft laterally in this car, so you get a lot of bobble. I don't get car sick nearly ever, and out there on constantly undulating roads as a passenger, this vehicle made me very car sick. And I imagine in the second or third row it's even worse.
You know the solution to that?
Don't drive it in mountainous areas?
Nope, you put on an extra 200 pounds, and your extra body fat and girth will dampen all that, where the body fat will do the jiggling and your head will stay still, at least based on my technical knowledge. This, again, I get what you're saying, and to a certain extent I agree. It's got the reverse problem of the CX90. And to some degree, it's very similar to the Telluride and Palisade. This is a soft, cushy ride. And I would argue with you that the person who's buying this would much rather prefer the fact that it's a giant boat and that most people would think that this rides well because it's soft. And this would be the better option than like being firm everywhere. Because you don't feel bad pavement anywhere you go in this.
Not really, no.
The only negative part, if you're getting really geeky, is when you hit a bump, there's a lot of low frequency vibration. There's like these really long, like bassy shock waves that you feel because the body's stretched out, to your point. It's so stretched out that it almost has that minivan-ish like
lack of rigidity.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, but you can't get away from it in a giant unibody box like this. It's like a bus on wheels. But because they've isolated most of it out, and the fact that it is so soft, that's what people are going to like.
And it's huge. It's enormous.
It's enormous, and it feels enormous, and that could be one of the huge negatives. I didn't really talk about the negatives on the inside of this thing, but if you're a smaller person, like 3'8", or that's not a real height.
If you're
but
like
5 foot,
yeah.
If you're smaller, you're gonna get into this, and it's gonna feel like a truck. And I really do. I think it feels like the closest thing you can get to a unibody truck. That's what it feels like in terms of size, from door panels, almost the height part of it. People are going to love this, how high up in the air it is. You can see everything. And I think we're moving to that direction where in another 10 years, almost every SUV is going to essentially be a dump truck with a cab on the back. Everything keeps getting bigger and bigger. And yes, this is a suburban mall crawler, like perfect suburban thing when you have wide open spaces. But I don't know. I don't think it rides as bad as that you say it does. It is floaty, but
I think the difference is our roads here are relatively flat and you're dealing with expansion joints. If you deal with elevation and bumps, it doesn't do a good job with both of those things. Moving past the handling part, you have nearly 97 cubic feet of cargo capacity. You have 3 really usable rows. The fuel economy for how big this thing is exceptional. Right?
Yeah.
You're over 25 miles to the gallon when you drive it like a normal person. The Hybrid Max drivetrain that we're in, it's very powerful. It doesn't feel slow, and Toyota does hybrids pretty much better than anybody else in the mass market segment.
Yeah.
It's very smooth, implementation's good. The automatic does a good job. I mean, other than my complaints with some of the handling, some of the seating, for example, I think these seats are way too narrow.
Yeah,
or
they're
short, sorry, not narrow, short. For if you have longer legs like I do, it becomes a problem. It's the chicken shit things, but the reality is, in this segment, if you need something this big, you're either stuck with this or going to an American body-on-frame SUV. And to your point, a Pilot is 10 cubic feet smaller than this.
Yeah.
So if you really do have 5 kids or whatever, you need to fill out the second and third row, this is basically your de facto option.
It is. It becomes this or a full body on frame SUV, and there's a lot of trade-offs in doing that. There's a lot. It's a lot higher. It's harder to get in and out of. This finds a really good middle ground, and it still rides soft. The body on frame, you're going to get a lot of that shudder in the back. It's going to ride rougher. You're going to lose the ride refinement that this has, and obviously you don't have to get the Hybrid Max, but this is a great example. When I first drove this, I was like, my God, this thing's going to be horrible. And then you mash it, you mat it down, and it moves. And not only does it move, the lifetime fuel economy, as reported by here, is 25, which is really good for the size of this thing. And I think if you drive more conservatively, you could probably get higher than that. And there's a lot of good things going on with this. I don't know if I could particularly enjoy driving because I'm more that person. I need some driving character to it, where a CX90 might help me, or like a Q7 like I joked around about, or I'm going to joke around about. There's certain things that are not here, but I think this is one of the best family haulers. I think they did a great job on this, like I talked about in the interior. The things that real people are going to use, they're going to love this, and I don't know.
All right, Mark, with that, let's head into the final thoughts.
Let's do it. Hey, Chad, what do you think now? Still not thinking about anything? I don't blame you. So what are you going to choose? Really go to your bathroom right now, look yourself in the mirror and say, you know, I want a 3-row SUV. I want to reach the peak of what I can accomplish. Then you want something that you're actually going to use for the next 10 years for your family and friends and all that other stuff, and that's what this is. It doesn't sacrifice usability for the sake of aesthetics like the CX90. It doesn't feel as appliance as the Honda Pilot, and it doesn't feel like they spent 16 cents on the interior like the Buick Enclave or the Traverse. It really does find an amazing overall usable package, plus the hybrid system returns great fuel economy and speed for the weight and size of this, and it is one of the biggest SUVs. I don't agree with Jack particularly. I know he thinks that the ride quality is boaty. I think it's absolutely satisfactory for a vehicle like this because you're not driving it fast. You're gonna drive it at like 45 miles an hour, wishing that you could reboot your life and go back to your 20s and make better decisions. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next video.
Yourself if you call